this so that I have it for future use if we have new staff members or anything. So that being said, we'll get started. This is the 5 tips to know. It's kind of a down and dirty where we should be, what to look for, and just the high points. So you've all been through summative testing. You've all been through the Moodle, and we just want to make sure that we're all kind of at the same point on the same page. So the LPAC dates to know obviously are, I'm going to move my windows. I'm sorry. I'm going to hide some of you so that I can make sure that you have full view of my screen. Our testing dates are initial and initial alternate, which are the first day of student enrollment, August 29th through June 14th. The summative and summative alternate will always, there's an annual date of February 1st every year, with an ending date of May 31st of every year. And San Diego Unified, we have chosen to have our sites be complete by March 24th, which is the Friday before spring break. And I know a lot of people always ask, and we're going to go through why we do this so early on the next slide. But meanwhile, for this coming week, we want to make sure that we stop by our enrollment clerks and talk to them and make sure that they have all their exits completed. And I had a site email me that they know of a couple of kids that'll be exiting in February. So they are going to pull those kids and test them the first day of February so that we know that we won't get caught with those children being left untested.
Yeah.
Please mute yourself if you're entering the room. The other item is to make sure that any of your reclassifications have been completely processed and approved from the multilingual department. Both of those items should take place by this Friday, and the reason for that is because it takes approximately anywhere from 12 to 72 hours to make sure that all the systems are in alignment with the data and that your LPAC summative rosters are accurate. And again, we talked about why do we start so early in February? Number one, just as the example earlier, students leave our district and come into our district every single day. So what that means is it can have an impact to your site, because if you have a site that has 40 EL students and 2 siblings leave on February 1st, the site will receive an automatic low in their SARC and the completion rating, regardless of how the results of the other students do. So if they all get 3s and 4s and you do fabulous, you're still going to get an automatic low because of the 2 children that didn't test. So again, students in schools that have 20, if they lose 1 student, it'll be negative. So you have to be very careful. We're trying to get to 100%. And of course, things happen, but that is the reason why we do start on February 1st. Again, it has negative impacts to site participation rates, and it can negatively impact school and district SARCs. So for me, one of the more important factors is ultimately this is in the best interest of our students to test early and get the results back. And the reason is because we have students that articulate from 5th grade to 6th grade, 8th grade to high school, and other combinations. And if we know that they have done well and can be reclassified, because we got the results in May, then the teacher who actually has taught them all year can sign off and approve the reclassification in the same year it actually occurs, versus a new teacher in the fall who probably doesn't know the student as well as the outgoing teacher. So, and then also that leads to them being placed in an ELD class, and they didn't need to be in an ELD class. So there's a lot of different shuffling that goes on. The third Friday of October, September, 3rd Friday in October, sorry. So again, ultimately it's in the best interest for our students, for us to test early, get results, and be able to reclassify those eligible students. So this section here is quick, but it is only for the elementary sites. Elementary, you have your UTK through 2nd grade writing booklets. And the shipping requirements, I have to gather all that material and ship them back. So we really need those back in March and as quickly as possible. The first set of labels should be out the first to second week of February. And that's for anybody that was enrolled by January 13th. And then any residuals between January 13th and I believe it's sometime in February come to me in March. And you will be contacted at that time for me to get those to you. Remember, you just write in the name and the SSID, all of the bubbling. We have them on pre-ID labels. You do not bubble the booklets. Test examiners, we're going to talk about training and the security affidavit impacts. So test examiners really should be, I say must in this, but it's a should be, trained in Moodle before, as the site coordinator, you add them into TOMS as a test examiner. So for sites that are just having their upper grades do reading, writing, listening, that means that they have come to you and said, I did watch I went into Moodle, I have my security affidavit, and I watched my 312 listening, reading, and writing. And then you add them into TOMS. TOMS will send them a welcome email. They need to use that email and activate their TOMS account. And if they don't do that, they also have to sign the security affidavit in TOMS. If they don't do that, they won't be able to go in and create a test session. It won't display the Elpac for them. So all of these three things kind of all go hand in hand, and they all need to take place before you can successfully test a student. So that brings us to the technology for staff devices. Staff devices are pretty, we use them all the time. And because we use them all the time, sometimes we forget that they have little memories that need to be cleared out. So what we ask that you do is clear your browser for Chrome, Firefox, and Safari. You all know ETS technology is built with the Chrome platform in mind. It works the best when you use Chrome. So there is a district email that comes out to anybody who has, I believe, PowerSchool special programs access. They send it out. It comes from Shane Moore, and he sends out an email reminder to clear your cache, clear your browser. I did not know that I needed to clear my Windows browser to enhance performance. So I learned something when I started getting them. There is a job aid in those emails, so be sure to use those if you have any questions on how to do that. And other helpful hints that they recommend is to shut off your computer at the end of each day, especially during the testing windows when you're actively testing. Check your browser for updates. That's also in the template and the job aid in the email. And then if you are not regularly at a district site connected to the network, you really should try and do that regularly, because that's another place that you get updates pushed out to your computer. So again, teachers must use their staff issued device. Students access the assessments via their San Diego Unified Chromebooks. When a student opens the device, do not let them log in. If they log in, they will need to log off to access the secure test browser. The secure test browser is in the lower left-hand side of the screen, the middle button, and you locate the word secure test browser. When you get to that, it's going to open a window, and it should have a drop-down. The drop-down, you want to select the state of California. If for some reason your student is quick or just makes a mistake and they pick Arizona, you can look on that screen in the bottom right-hand side. It's going to say return to the secure browser setting window. This will allow you again to select California from the drop-down, and that will fix any of those little problems. Last year, it was a superimposed Foursquare. This year, it's written return to the secure browser setting window. So they have made that enhancement. And parent notifications went out today. They went out via school messenger. This notifies the EL students that we will be conducting the Elpac assessment. It goes out in 5 languages: English, Spanish, Tagalog, Vietnamese, and Somali. After today, the sites are responsible. So if you have any new parents or anybody, then you will need to notify them that we will be, that their child is would be assessed if they're in EL. But guess what? Let's see. I think I made that one in 10 minutes. I'm getting faster each time. So in respect for your time and attention, and I'm very grateful that you were here today. I want to thank you very much for being here, but I also want you to know that you can either choose to leave or you can stay, and you can ask questions and we can chat. So thank you again for all being here. Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask. Otherwise, again, you guys free to go. I just want to make sure everybody's feeling confident, comfortable. Need anything from me, I'm happy to support you in any way I know how.
Okay, this was just for the regular LPAC?
Well, it's also for alternate. The same rules all apply for alternate. They run concurrently and they're the same. The only difference is the platform that it's administered.
Well, that, and those of us that aren't actually connected to the district, but we have your students at the NPS level.
Correct.
Okay.
This is more for the coordinators. This is to let you, and because you are an MPS site, to let you guys know that we've sent out parent letters.
Okay.
Things like that. But if you ever have any questions, you now have my Zoom room. Please feel free to join. I can assist in any way that, I can to help you guys with our students. And
okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Nicole.
How are you taking attendance, and is your screen?
Zoom reports. Zoom has a report feature that'll tell me everybody who is in attendance.
Okay, and then is this a Google Doc or this Google Sheet available?
That is in, yes, it's in the chat room. I will.
I think you have to every time. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. Anything else? Anyone have anything?
And I have been out in January, still off, but we just sent in our reclass, I think either yesterday or it'll be coming to you. I'm just concerned that we get that 1 or 2 off the books before.
Yeah, they go to the multilingual department. They don't come to me. Reclass is completely separate from the LPAC itself. But if you know that they are eligible and have earned their reclassification, do not assess them, period.
No, I won't, but
do I have multilingual to try and get them so that once they're on there, we'll just have to, you can do a failure to assess and say reclassified if the date's February 5th, and that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay, sounds great.
Yep.
Thank you.
No worries. Good question. Thank you.
Okay, so as far as reclassifications, once they go on the summative list, they're on there even if you then finish the reclassification after the testing?
They may come off. They make some programming changes to those reports every year. So every year it can look a little different. So I don't guarantee any one way or thing. That's why I try and have everybody have their data correct before we even go into the testing window.
Yeah, well, I'll let them know. It's coming slow. Okay,
yes.
Thanks.
I've also, gone the other way and tried to encourage them to process those quickly.
Yes.
So if, like, I've turned in all my reclassification paperwork, that's done and whatnot. So it shouldn't show up on your labels, correct? Like,
well, it could show up.
Okay. And then if it does, do I let you know or don't worry about it?
You don't worry about it. Okay, so you kind of have 2 things going on. The labels are going to be printed to anybody who was enrolled as an EL child on January 13th. So if you ran your eligibility list for the summative on January 13th, that's what you're going to get labels for. Okay, so let's say they reclass on the 27th, you're going to have a label for them, but they've reclassified, so you're still not going to test them. But when you run your LPAC roster again on February 1st, those are the kids you will be on the hook for. And every week thereafter, anybody's added, and if this is where people get very confused, and I don't blame you. It's taken long time to catch these nuances. If you have a child who leaves at, let's say, spring break, because we know we lose a lot of kids in spring break and we get a lot of kids in spring break. So you have a student who John left on spring break and he didn't come back and we didn't know he was leaving and he left and he went to Riverside to be with his aunt, and his aunt enrolls him in school in Riverside. Riverside will get his Tom's file and all his CalPADS records and everything, and Tom's will be required, or Tom's Riverside would be required to assess them with the LPAC. Conversely, this child goes to Mexico to live with grandma. He is going to disappear and he's going to stay on your roster forever and be a ding on your percentage of completion because they don't test with the LPAC in Mexico. So if the child happens to come back to you before May 31st and you can assess them, that's great. If he goes somewhere else like Riverside and they can assess them by the May 31st date, that's great. If not, they're stuck on your roster. That's why that February 1st date, like, you know, getting everybody that might disappear on you is really also very important.
So even if they've unenrolled, like I had a family move back to Japan, so they
Yep.
moved back before the holidays.
Correct.
So they're going to still show up,
They should
even though
not.
they're no longer enrolled in the district?
If your exit paperwork has been completed and they come off your Tom's roster by February 1st, you should be fine.
So do I do the exit paperwork or?
Nope, you go to your enrollment clerk and make sure they processed all the exits that they have,
Okay,
okay?
I think she did that, but I'll confirm.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, and like I said, some people already know that they've got kids leaving in February, so they bring them in right away and get them tested. And, you know, there's a lot that goes into this data that they capture. Everybody else doing okay? You feel fine? You're all standing there. I just worry that you're all on taking your time, and I just want to make sure you're feeling comfortable with what's happening. Has the training been better for you? Every year they do better with the training. I know, Bruce, you're just cracking me up.
It was shorter.
It was shorter. I'm telling you, every year gets a little less painful, but not by much. I wish I could change the training. I can't. The only thing I tell people is if you are a returning test, you're, you know, a frequent flyer on the test circuit, you just go straight down to the certification, do your quizzes, and you're done.
I
So,
still disagree with some of the way the state scored them, but I can't change that.
no, sometimes I wish we could, but they do have educator input, by the way. So if you truly feel about that, then I will gladly send you where you can participate in having feedback to that.
But I think some of it had to do, when I went to the in-person training and I'm like, this is a lousy sentence. They're like, they're a second grader. And it's like, oh, for high school, this is a lousy sentence.
That's okay. I got people who are having to give these assessments for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds now.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
there's just a slight difference in the high school way that I'm doing it compared to if it was an elementary school,
Absolutely agree.
the kind of thing. And we don't have we actually do have one girl just new here, but most of our students are just awful at taking tests.
I know. I know. I have a child that was very test sensitive.
Yeah, so it isn't, when I talk to them in the speaking, they aren't that bad.
Then
They
that
just-
is
they-
something that maybe you want to discuss further with the with Melody Margetta and the multilingual department on reclassifying them.
I just know that even my students in math, they're just awful at taking tests, whether they know it or not. They second guess themselves on literally everything, and they will mark the wrong answer just because they got 3, but that could be wrong, so I'm not going to mark it.
Okay, well, I got 2 more. Let's see. I think Michelle, you were first, and Michael, you're second.
Okay, I'm leaving. Thank you.
Okay, bye, Bruce. Michelle, are you there?
Hello.
Hi.
So my question, and I'm sorry, I was 10 minutes late. My school gets out and I scrambled to be in here.
That's fine.
So my question is, let me start my video. So I heard that last date to test, maybe I'm wrong. The last date to test is May 31st for Summative Elpac. And so up until then, but I know the district is March 24th.
It is March
right?
24th.
Okay, thank you. So March 24th, but through the states, we can test up to May 31st. Sorry, let me
Well,
can you
area
give me some of those dates real quick. Just run me down.
Yeah, I will. We can pop back up to the dates. Area superintendents are going to be notified of the status of sites on the March 15th day or March 24th day. So again, the reason we're doing this is so students can have the best opportunity the next year. So summative runs from February 1st to May 31st every year. That never changes. It never will change. It will always be February 1st to May 31st. The district wants us to get the testing done by March 24th. So basically between March 24th and May 31st should be your kids who are absent all the time, your kids who claim COVID during the test so they don't have to test, or mom keeps them home, whatever. Those things, you know, are problems that we always have to overcome. New students who enroll who need to be assessed, students who enroll and need the initial and still need to get the summative. That's for that March 24th to May 31st should be your last 1%.
And that goes for the initial too, or the initial you can go all the way in. So let's say a kid gets enrolled on May 30th. I would want to do the summative first and then go back and do the initial because you can't.
You can't because you don't know what they are. They could very well, you got to give the initial first because you don't know if they're an IFEP or.
Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah. So like, that's what I worry about these two dates is like, what if they come on the 30th? You know what I'm saying?
They come on
like,
the 30th. You assess them within 30 days. So if you assess them on June 2nd, the summative is closed. You wouldn't give the summative till the next spring.
Got it. Thank you, Anne, for that information.
Yep. And if you guys have specific questions about specific students, again, my Zoom is open if I'm here. And if I'm not here, I usually get an email and I'll tell you where I'm at or where I'm going to be back or anything like that to connect with you. So Michael, you had a question? Thank you for being patient. I appreciate it.
Hi, Anne. Thanks for taking the call or the Zoom raised hand. Just a couple quick questions for you. Obviously, Madison's a little bit unique in our population with DHH.
Mm-hmm.
Our last tester, because we like to have our students test with someone they're familiar with, just because it helps with encouraging them to do better on the test. Our person that was assisting with DHH last year is on a little bit of a leave. However, we do have the department chair who's going to be stepping in to assist. With that said, he is deaf, and the students that he's going to be testing are deaf, but will not be taking the CAW. With that said, we have in the past exempted them from the listening for obvious reasons, but I know that he can still do the speaking. Now, with the use of an interpreter, that's not going to be an issue. It's not something we're going to need to create a STARS report.
If they have ASL in there, I'm 90% sure your students will have some sort of ASL on their IEPs. So you would be setting them up as an accommodation with ASL, and you can have an ASL signer for all of it.
With exception of listening.
Listening, they can do ASL. That's how they hear. That is truly how they hear. So I would do ASL. I believe ASL applies to that.
So if we have an interpreter who is in the room, who is interpreting what is being said aloud and signing it.
And then they in turn sign back or respond on their device.
Okay.
Yep.
Just making sure.
Yep. Anyone else? Did you all get my email about your labels? I'm assuming that everybody got the email about the labels and what that means for elementary sites only. Okay. Yes, Lorraine, just go ahead and take yourself off mute.
Okay. Because this is the first time that I've come across, and it was during the site coordinator training that I just went through about doing the writing test separately for UTK through second. Is that absolutely necessary?
You
Is
can
it
get me the
okay?
books back in the 2 weeks in
Mhm.
March. No, you can do
Mhm.
it whenever. I mean, again, what we're, the whole issue is we have to get them, you do not get any results for your school site until the East Coast gets your books and grades them. So the longer that we wait to send them our books for scoring, the
Mhm.
longer it takes for them to get the results back to us.
Okay, because I'm just used to a scenario where you just pull the student and you try to give them all the domains
That's, and then, again,
at
you
one
guys have to
time.
do what, again, we have what, 200 sites, and you are all very unique. So it is whatever and however it works for your site administrator and you as a test coordinator.
And,
I'm
we
not
have,
trying to tell anybody how to do it. I'm just trying to let you guys know that I need everything back so that we can get them. And we just are asking for books to be given to us before, as soon as you can possibly give them.
thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, I think we have run our course. I appreciate you all. Thank you very much for attending again. Make sure if you have an ID number that somewhere I have, that you have an email attached to it, because you will get a certificate of attendance from me shortly. And then if you don't get it, you should probably email me. Okay, I'm gonna sign off now and I'm going to the gym. Bye-bye, everybody.